on one of these fancy smart cars. Now, let's say some dude is driving down the road and all of a sudden he discovers he has a flat tire. He jumps out of the car, inspects the tire, and sees that it is protected by a wheel lock. So he says, no problem. I'll pop the trunk, get the wrench, and we'll get this tire changed. No big deal. Just like any other car, right? Wrong. The proprietary wrench required to move the wheel lock doesn't come with the car. That's something he has to buy separately. Doesn't come with the vehicle. You gotta go down to the dealership and they'll hook you up. Fortunately, he has a buddy who's pretty handy with tools, and he has an idea of how to remove the wheel lock without having to buy the special tool. So he gets down there and sure as shit, he finds a way to get this wheel lock out of there. It's turning, and just as it's about to fall out, a loud, piercing factory alarm starts going off. Dude grabs the key fob and begins pressing buttons to try to turn this thing off, but it's not working. The alarm keeps on going. Furthermore, he starts to realize that the sound of this alarm is completely different from his regular car alarm. As if this was some super secret factory alarm that the owner has no prior knowledge of until it actually goes off. So the dude grabs the owner's manual, he scrolls through the vehicle documentation on his phone, and of course, because this is a security-related thing, he can't find any helpful information. Finally, dude calls the dealership and says, dude, what's up with this thing? And he learns through a technician that he needs the 4-digit bypass code to disable the alarm, which can only be provided by the dealership who sold him the car. So he gets the code and finally stops the alarm. He is further informed by the technician that he is going to need that special proprietary wrench one way or another, because both the nut and the wrench need to, quote, handshake and acknowledge each other, and the vehicle itself must also see that as well. So if you try to tighten the wheel lock any other way, it will sound the alarm again and you'll have to get a brand new bypass code. Or if you leave the lock off entirely, the main computer will throw a medium priority service advisory code. Either way, you're going to need that wrench. So the dude is pissed, okay? But thankfully, the dealership is right around the corner, and he goes down there, and the greeter waves to him, and he gets his wrench. So now, he doesn't have to worry about tripping this stupid alarm, which he still has no idea where it's located. Okay, so now he removes all 5 lug nuts and removes the tire. He goes back to the trunk, removes the spare tire from this black ABS plastic housing, which kind of looks like a donut. He removes the top half of this donut and grabs the tire, puts it on. He grabs the wrench and tightens the lug nuts. He tightens the wheel lock with his new special wrench, ensuring that the green authentication light appears. He cleans up, gets back in his car, and tries to ride away, but the car won't move. It is completely immobilized. So he calls the dealership back and is like, how come my car don't move? And he's promptly informed by the technician that the lug nuts must be torqued to proper factory specifications and that the vehicle must acknowledge the proper torque being applied. Furthermore, he is also informed that a special proprietary digital torque wrench that can only communicate with his specific vehicle's computer is also required, and at this point he just loses his mind. So he goes back to the dealer and the greeter waves to him again, and he gets his torque wrench. Finally, he gets all the lug nuts on and torqued to the correct specs, and the computer acknowledges it, and he finally rides away. He gets about a half mile down the road, and suddenly his computer flashes both a high priority service warning and a low priority service warning. He scrolls through the messages and sees that the high priority service warning has an error code from the improperly torqued lug nuts, and that the low priority code is that he failed to put the plastic spare tire housing on the trunk back together again properly. The computer gives the dude 1 day to get the situation resolved. Even though he did everything right, again, that error code still exists there and needs to be cleared. It cannot stay on that system, and he can't fucking believe it. This guy put so much money into the tools and he still couldn't get the job done. So at this point, the guy's really pissed off. He says, you know what? I don't have time for this shit, okay? I'm going on vacation tomorrow. You know what? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. I'm going to play it smart. I'm going to get out of town at 5 a.m. And then pretty much that's what he does. He leaves his house at 5 in the morning, travels 50 miles to his vacation destination. He's going to see a friend there, and he's going to have a barbecue pool party. It's going to be awesome, basically. So he does that, and everything's fine. The car drives perfectly. It realizes that it's 5 in the morning, and the dealership's not even open. The dude is all like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's how you handle that. Who's the man? Who the man? Guy's really happy. So he's at the party. It's about like 10 a.m. And one of the girlfriends over there, I guess she forgot some food item or something. So she's like, can you run to the store? And he's like, yeah. So the dude runs to the store. The guy plugs in the route to the store, and the self-driving car starts going. Problem is, it's not going to the store. It's going back in the direction from where he came from to where he lives, actually. And this car is not stopping, and the doors are locked. And because of liability concerns with these cars, the doors cannot open once the vehicle is en route to a destination. Turns out, this vehicle is going straight back to the dealership of his hometown. Not the nearest dealership to where he is now out of town. No, it's going all the way back to that one dealership just to get those error codes cleared. And so the dealership can get paid. Now, at this point, I know that some of you are probably listening to this and you can't believe what you're hearing. You're probably thinking to yourself, what kind of Mickey Mouse operation is this? You know, this is ridiculous. How can people tolerate this kind of shit, you know? You got to understand, and you got to look at it this way. How much is the dealership giving up in this era of self-driving cars that they didn't have to give up in the past? They are taking huge losses in revenue here. And I mean, they can't give these cars away, man. Nobody is buying these driverless cars. And it's not because these cars are expensive or that they're dangerous or anything like that, because they're not. The problem is ride sharing, that put a dent in the business, you know. And the highest, and you got to realize that 10 to 12, that reduced the price of your average car to about $10,000 to $12,000. So it's a huge decrease compared to today's prices. And on top of that, they have to sink money, or they have sank money into turning dealerships into these mini strip malls. They're going above and beyond to hold on to your patronage. And the downside is that there is no free lunch either. They have to get their money from you one way or another. They have to nickel and dime you. They have to sell cars that have shorter lifespans than ever before and that are maintenance nightmares. They have to make their money too, basically. Believe it or not, for the first time in history, the customer finally seems to have the upper hand in negotiations with car dealerships. They are getting cars that are super cheap. They are also benefiting from not having to own a vehicle and deal with this maintenance bullshit, but rather requesting rides whenever they need one. And because a lot of competition out there in the ride-sharing market, those prices are also super cheap. So the customer really does come out ahead in the relationship with the dealer. And all that's asked of them, all they seek in return is to accept the vehicle's 5-year lifespan and to participate in the ridiculous maintenance scenario that I outlined above. That's it. So you can get mad and think that, man, this is crazy shit. Or you can look at it as a way that the dealer is trying to recoup some of their financial losses. So there you go. Your number one issue with mobility, or lack thereof, is that you can't drive your own vehicle, which is, believe it or not, going to eliminate a lot of people on the roadways. Maybe not a significant amount, but there's going to be a certain percentage of society that are simply going to throw up their hands and say, fuck it. If I can't drive the car that I want to drive, when I want to drive it, how I want to drive it, then fuck it. I'm just not going to drive. I will find another way. These people will probably participate in rideshare. It may be better for them to simply have someone else deal with the headaches of ownership of these vehicles. They may opt for that and let it be someone else's problem. And it's going to be the older generation, too, that are going to be probably protest the loudest. And they're right on this, actually. It's going to suck badly. And in their minds, they have rationalized that it might be better just to catch a ride with someone else and let them deal with the BS. Okay. Time to get on to privacy here. And basically, I want to, like I say, cover some privacy concerns around, surrounding these driverless cars. We touched upon this earlier, but I want to go back, if we could, to the topic of the black box. I basically discussed the security implications of having a black box that can be accessed remotely. Let's say you are not in danger. I outlined, let's say you're not in danger. Let's say you're not a stalking victim or a special witness to testify against the mafia or anything like that. Let's say, I don't know, maybe you're just a guy who, wants to keep some of their privacy. I don't know. That sounds crazy, right? It's a crazy concept. And so that's another aspect in which, again, I revert back not to the main computer infotainment display that's out in front, and although that certainly has its share of potential vulnerabilities as well, and shouldn't be treated. Again, I'm more concerned because security holes, when you think about it, security holes can always be patched, and if one person encounters a problem, the manufacturer can simply issue a patch remotely, through a secure connection, of course, to everyone with that same system, and then fix it right on the spot. But when we're talking about black boxes, streaming real-time data about where you're going, the number of occupants in the car, what food product you're eating, etc., back, streaming it back to the manufacturer in real time that you agreed to in your terms of service agreement, it sort of gives cause to be concerned because of the amount of personal information about your driving habits that you are revealing. I mean, you got to understand there's a lot of raw data here that can be gleaned from drivers' behavioral habits. It's an amazing thing, and manufacturers are going to be reviewing all of this. And man, it's a lot of fucking data when you think about it. I mean, there are so many scenarios. I mean, oh God, you could have, what do 25 to 30-year-old men do on Wednesday evenings during full moons inside of a specific geographical area during rainy conditions or something like that? Where do they travel the most? I mean, I'm just making stuff up off the top of my head here, but if you really get down to think about it, you can see where I'm going here. You can ask for any piece of data that is just so specific. You can then throw it all into this supercomputer and let it process for you comparative data. And what you'll end up with is more than just intelligence enough to control a vehicle. You now have a foundation and a master template from which to build with an entire population